Sorry, camera problem there. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PBD live feed. We've done some live stuff before, but we're going to try and do this on a regular basis. When I say we, I mean me here at home. Most of the time, I'm going to do some of these from the shop. We can do some of these remotely, maybe. I may even expand this into like an interview deal, or maybe do a podcast down the road. But for now, we're going to try this on for size. Let's see who's all in here. What's up, B Lightning, DFW Speed, Sean B, Doug? How you guys doing tonight? Is everybody's life getting back to normal or no? Everything's been pretty normal down here for us. I don't really go out and socialize very often, so that's when it's more obvious going out to dinner and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not too bad. So anyway, what's up, Mad Muscle? So today we're going to talk about pretty much everything we got going on at the shop. That's kind of what this deal is going to be, more of like a weekly recap of things. And then, we'll do a Q&A, or, we'll talk about things as we go. I'm not really sure exactly what we're going to do or how we're going to do it. So we'll just kind of figure it out. Looks like we've got a decent amount of people in here already. What's up, Joseph? Nasty 5 Racing, DFW Speed, Normal in Texas. Yeah. Except you guys seem to have a crazy governor. Boosted Kev. Yeah, we'll get to all those kind of questions later, but the 3.8 Whipple is coming. We're probably, I don't know, we're a little bit out still. You see, they posted the 3D model of it, so obviously if they're printing that, that means the blower itself isn't completely done, but it's very close. So, I'm not really sure. I would guess we'd be testing that in within months, 30 to 90 days, I would guess. So anyway, I wanted to, let's go ahead and get started. First off, I wanted to talk about the GT500 stuff. So if you guys saw, I posted that today. We got some good action over the weekend on the GT500s. First, we'll go in order that the things went down. We had Don Walsh at the NMCA race this weekend, and he's running on Nittos on 20s, but the big news there, first big news was it was his first 9-second pass. We just got done tuning his car. I'll go ahead and post the mod. I don't think I have that handy. I know off the top of my head, though. It does have a Joker's blower. It has it's on E85. It has ultimate headers. It has a VMP throttle body, PWR intercooler, 2.7 pulley, 2.75 pulley, I think. I'm not sure if he's running SPE or Grip Tech. I think he's running Grip Tech, 275. So then the good news there is that 150, he's the first. Pretty sure it's the first guy that we've gone over 150 with on blower only. Lee's was really sure to point out to me that he went 152 or so on nitrous, but 150 on blower is definitely our highest. So that's good news. And on less pulley now, he did have the best conditions, I think, at least since all these cars have been in their current form. He was in the 60-degree temps. I think it was an evening at the race. And actually, something happened on my end, but he should have ran a 9-second average in True Street, which was pretty cool. He ran 2 980s, and then there was an issue with the tune. So my fault. Anyway, I'm not really keeping up with the comments, guys, but if you have questions, we'll get to those in just a little bit. We'll talk about the GT500s, and then we'll go ahead and take questions on that, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Anyway, so video-wise, Lee, I don't have video of, I don't think. No, I don't. But let's go ahead and watch Mark's video. Hold on a second. Because this is a really good indication, even though Lee is the... Great. Guys. Sorry, guys. I'm at home, so can't control the dogs. Anyway, Mark's car is a real good video, and Lee's car probably ran almost identical to this. They ran... Lee ran a 955. Mark ran a 956. The cars are fairly similarly put together. Mark's running. They both have Joker blowers. They both run the 105 millimeter throttle body. And for those of you that are wondering about that, LMT makes it. They're also partnered with Jokers on getting these blowers done. And we're going to go ahead and release that as a Palm Beach Dyno throttle body. Instead of LMT releasing it under their name, we're going to release it under our name. And we've got 20 of those coming. So if you want one, make sure you let me know. Anyway, let's watch this video real quick. And I'll basically, the whole point of this, I want to tell you why the cars aren't quicker yet. You guys can't hear that, can you? Obviously, as you guys know, the launch is the big problem. 1.5 60 foot, that's one of the best ones we've gotten out of any of these cars. We'll talk about tire choice here in a minute. See right there, the first second or so, we're not really moving very good. So the real problem is, well, we got multiple problems. And for those of you guys that aren't used to DCTs, which, you know, for Mustang people, none of us are used to them. We're used to automatics, and you've got a torque converter, and that obviously helps get the car going even when it's heavy. So, you know, for the most part, what we've got here, regardless of what you want to call it, it's a stick shift car when it comes to drag racing. We're just not using a clutch pedal or any of that, but, you know, it kind of works the same. So, you know, you've got different ways to go about it to make a regular stick car work, and you're either going to set it up to spin or run some sort of slipper clutch. Obviously, we're not set up to spin, so it slips the clutch, and, you know, that's really the key to getting these cars to work correctly. We're limited on RPM, and obviously we're limited on transmission support. So I'm personally doing, you know, a lot of little things in the tune to try and get around that and improve it. And as you saw there, Mark had a 1.5 60 foot, and that was his 9.6 pass. The very next pass, the same exact tune, it was a 1.5 60 foot. And that's because what I'm doing in the tune is not going to be permanent. So you have to flash the car probably every pass at this level. You know, to give you an example, I took my car. Well, let's go back again real quick and just explain to you why all these cars on this list are so close together. And that's because they almost have the same exact tune. We've got this tune so dialed down that, like, I wouldn't do this because parts can get installed improperly, but I can send this tune to 1,000 horsepower configured car and not log it, and I guarantee it'll run a 9-second pass. Guaranteed. Because I did it with my car Sunday. So, you know, it's a very repeatable tune. Very, very repeatable. Now, I was talking about flashing the car every time. I did an experiment, and Sunday I went to TRC, had an invitational. That's for those of you guys that don't know, TRC is huge. You should know who they are, but it stands for That Racing Channel. They obviously have a huge YouTube channel, over 1 million subscribers, and they did a feature on my car a couple weeks ago. It didn't go up yet. We videoed it, and that should be up soon. And then this past Sunday, they had an invitational where they invite cars, and that's how they generate, you know, some of the content for their channel. And, you know, we do rolls and digs. So I showed up, you know, for those of you that don't follow my car, I made 1078 on the pulley that I was currently running. So, you know, I basically took Mark's tune and threw it on my car, and it was perfect. So I got there. It was extremely hot yesterday. It's been extremely hot. And very first hit, well, first off, I roll raced it twice. So basically, when I roll raced it, I was shocked. Okay. For those of you that don't do much roll racing or don't pay attention to it, a lot of the times on a rolling start that you do at a drag strip and you finish at the finish line, usually the trap speed is really close to what the quarter mile speed is going to be. And the very first pass I raced, I'll show you those races too. They're really cool. I don't know exactly how long I plan on going tonight, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, my first race was against, let's just go ahead and watch it. My first race was against a Audi R8 Alpha. Hold on a second, guys. Audi R8 Alpha 10 that makes in the 900 range. Let's see here. Let's switch over to this. Let's go ahead and watch it real quick. I'm left lane. He's right lane. I think we were trying to do like a 50 roll. This I had no test passes. I'm not really used to the roll racing thing, especially this style on the street where it's, the normal roll racing and you pace each other for a few seconds at least. It's different here because you're trying to roll up and hit your target start speed right around the start line, and it's almost impossible. And this wasn't really a race. This was more for fun and just kind of to line the cars up. But let's go ahead and watch it. So as you can see there, it went 154, and on these cars, a lot of you guys know this, but maybe some of you don't, is we manually shift them. So the trap speeds aren't going to be extremely consistent unless you're consistent, and I hadn't really been able to do this yet. So on this path, I actually shifted a little higher than I thought after I checked the logs. They were higher than I thought, but I was still on the lower side, like 82, 83, 100. I believe the car would probably go fastest all the way up at 85 or 86, but I'm not going to do that for a while probably, just because I don't need to. Anyway, it went to 154, and that was great. I mean, I was very happy about that. And then I followed up and raced a buddy's Corvette Z06 Magnuson. His name's Justin. I don't know if he's on here or not, but I'm not sure exactly what his car puts down, but I do know it's been in the 8s. And again, this was another really good race. Let's watch that real quick.
This is for the king of the Bald Eagles. What are we doing? 50? 55. All right.
That's Chris Harris on the mic. He's the man. He does the IRRA. It's a roll racing deal. So on that one, I think I pushed the RPM up a little bit higher, and it went 155.83. So at this point, I'm like, wow, what the heck is it going to go in the quarter mile? Now, most cars trap the same in the roll race and in the quarter mile, but the big difference is the GT500 is not accelerating very well at all in first gear, so we're wasting a large amount of real estate. Whereas here, I'm accelerating at full throttle, full power, right at the starting line. And you can do that, let's say, in an A10 automatic Whipple car, which we're going to talk about next. But you can't do that on this car. And a lot of that is because the power is being limited by the transmission. So we've got some things to work on there. So there you saw the Corvette race the Mustang, and I had him by what? Over 2 mile an hour. And oh crap. Oh yeah, here it is. Let's watch my my drag pass. Now in this case, I didn't leave on time. It was my first drag pass. I didn't really care, but the point is look at this time slip where I out-trapped the vet on a roll by 2 miles an hour. Look at how honestly badly he beat me. He beat me badly. There's the mod list real quick if you guys want to pause it or go back and look at it. But we're going to offer this as a package, and I want to go ahead and talk about what it takes to make this power and performance for everybody and what we're still waiting on to really. It's why I haven't released my power packages yet. I'm doing custom packages, and when people ask me and custom spec to what you're looking for. Anyway, let's watch this real quick. See ya. I was slow in the tree, but there was no chance of me being anywhere close. So Let's see, time slip coming up. Hold on. He went a 907 at 149, and I went a 973 at 148. Now, that's because we're not really accelerating in first gear very well. That pass right there, I went a 163. Now, if I would have flashed that right before the pass, I bet you it would have went like a 155 to 156, which is what Lee's 60 footing on a normal basis, and Mark is 60 footing a 152 at his best, and I think that's because of tire. So now, a lot of people, everybody's running 18s on these. There's a couple things to really consider. Everybody right now, or most people except Lee, just did his car. They're running standard alignments on these cars, and that's just not a good idea for drag racing. If you're going to just make it an all-around car, leave it, and you're going to sacrifice a little bit on drag racing. The rear end has 2 degrees of negative camber, and I can show you a picture of my tires, which I really haven't used that much, and the inside of the tires are killed. And obviously not just killing the tire, but it's not a great, I'm not making a great contact patch for straight line stuff. So if you're going to drag race it, Lee put his car at 0 with signature wheel, 18-inch wheels on it, and just barely rubbed the tire a little bit. Obviously, I have the Forge Line wheels. I will try and get close to 0. I might go to like negative 0.5. But anyway, right now that tire is giving Mark an advantage because it's smaller, and he's getting a gearing advantage because we're not getting full power in first. So, in the short term, the shorter tire, I think his tire is like close to 27 inches. It's a 325 Mickey Thompson ET Street R. And Lee and I and a lot of my other customers are all running 305s, and it's closer to a 29-inch tire. And overall, I think that's the best choice of tire once we can get full power in first gear, and it's definitely a better tire for roll racing and all that sort of stuff. It gives you that bigger tire. You can really, between the bigger tire and the RPM, you can go over 130 in third gear. So that's real nice. Let's see, what else? I think that covers everything on the GT500s. Let's make it a little bit easier to follow. Let's go ahead. If anybody has any GT500 questions, let me know before we move on. What's up, Paramount Speed? Let me read through this stuff real quick. Bert, 2020 F-150 wants to know what his safe horsepower is with a ported Whipple. It depends on what fuel you're talking about. On pump gas, you can make, 700, no problem on those. Not no problem, but we can make 700 on pump gas. Built, it really just depends on how hard you want to push it. There's not this one number that you pass and all of a sudden, you run into big issues. It's a sliding scale, and if I had to put numbers on it, like mid 800s, very rare, I would say, to have a problem on any, Gen 3 Coyote. And then from there up, you're taking more and more risk. I mean, you're taking a risk, period. But in the mid 8s, I think you're pretty safe on a good fuel, E85 or a good race fuel if you can't get E85. But up towards 1,000 is possible. We do a lot of truck stuff. Not a ton of really high powered stuff. We're getting a lot more of that now. We've got an On3 F-150 with an MPR engine coming in soon. A really good customer of ours that we went fast with his Mustang, and we've got a few other trucks working, and we've got a lot of 10-second trucks. But we really haven't gone after that record setting single cabs market. But if somebody wants to, we'll do it. TCM, Sean wants to know about the TCM on the GT500. Without making this a really long explanation, it's just the difficulty level of anybody supporting that is through the roof. It's already hard to support the PCM, and when you're doing a PCM, you're dealing with a Ford PCM, and Ford does things sort of like they may have done it on a Ranger that you already did, or sort of like what they did last year or the year before, and you kind of look for patterns in the systems and reverse engineer and stuff like that. But the TCM is a completely new thing, so it's not a matter of like looking for similar patterns of the past. It's looking for stuff like a needle in a haystack. So unfortunately, you know, Ford doesn't help us with the PCM stuff, and Tremec's not going to help us with the TCM stuff. So I can flash the TCM right now. HP Tuners has some of the stuff mapped out, but it's not to a point of being useful to me, unfortunately. You know, it's the shift maps, but we can't get it to shift consistently. So, you know, it was still just manually shifting it. Now, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that, but there's other things going on. Well, let's talk one more thing. This is not related. As far as transmissions, though, for the GT500, we are testing clutches here soon. Low to high. What's taking so long on the trans tuning? It's incredibly difficult. If you it's really hard to explain you're so used to getting quick support on other platforms. That's not typical. And there's a lot of things that go into that, and I don't want to get into all that. But right now, there's nothing to go off of to kind of copy and see the patterns. There's no insider information from anybody that works there because they'd lose their job. And there's no official help from Tremec. And we have reached out to them, and they're extremely worried probably of hurting transmissions. I think what Tremec doesn't understand is no matter what they do to help us, we're going to break them. So if they help us, maybe they'll break a little less. Let's go over a couple more questions. Intercooler, Dimitri. I couldn't really put my finger on the intercooler on my car because it was so hot and I haven't run my car like that. I mean, it wasn't even that it was only hot. There was 147 grains of water in the air. That is like so saturated with water. It's very hard to cool anything off. So, I still think the Whipple is the way to go, especially because you have the 1-inch fittings on the intercooler. But it definitely helps. But you know, with a setup like this at this power level, you're still not going to get great temps. Stock, you know, we've seen 190 plus on Lee's car. So if you can knock out 20 plus degrees just with the intercooler core, that's pretty good. And then working on a heat exchanger. But there's not going to be some magic recipe that all of a sudden makes it run super cool. I mean, I wasn't planning on doing it, but we're going to release an ice tank made by TIG Vision, but it's going to be, I'm going to configure it specifically for the GT500 as a kit. And I think that's a good idea for racers. Boosted Kev, the 3.8 Whipple overdoing the ported blower to get the most power. That's a tough question to answer because it doesn't exist yet, but I'm very familiar with Whipple, and I'm sure it's going to make more power. It's got to make more power than the 265. I mean, I love, you know, there's always the war TVS versus Whipple, but like, I think the stock blower is pretty good, and it's really, really good after the guys, you know, port them. But you're still going to hit your limit. So what's the limit of the stock blower? Well, I've already made over 1,100, maybe 1,150, 1,200. We've got more work going. So you're talking about making 1,200 horsepower with that setup. Now, once you add up the cost of all that and compare it to a Whipple, it's probably not much cheaper to do it that way. So it really is going to come down to looks almost. The Whipple is going to make more possible overall power, but I've been doing this 15 years, and people that say they want to make 1,400 and people that actually make 1,400 are two very different things. So it's really going to come down to ease, right? So, you know, a stock blower setup is a lot of little things you got to throw all together. A Whipple's a complete kit. It's going to look different. All those sorts of things. It's going to have different characteristics, I'm sure, drive the way it drives, everything. So I don't think you're going to go wrong either way. Now, will a Whipple ever go on my GT500? I would have said no a month or two ago, but I'm already sucked into this horsepower deal. Now that I've done all this stuff to my car, I'm sucked in. So there may not be a limit. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, the GT500 is not going to be a drag race car. It's not good for drag racing. Have you guys ever seen GTR's drag race? It's pretty popular, and that car was not built for drag racing either. In fact, it's less good for drag racing probably than the Mustang car, and it's a super popular platform. So people are going to do it, whether it's really intended for it or not. And if it makes it more difficult, that just kind of makes it more fun. All right, let's see. Let's take a couple more questions, and then I want to talk about the A10 cars. Twisted 500 update. There's an updated from Ford on the TCM. You need that. I can't do anything about that. That at the very least, that will help the launch control work faster when you lift off the brake. Fuel system. Oh, yeah, let's talk about fuel systems real quick. Guess what's on my car? If you're talking fuel system in the traditional sense, I don't have a fuel system. It's bone stock fuel pumps, no boost pumps. It does have the Division X fuel rails and ID 1300 injectors. Now, Lethal, it has a fuel system. It's coming out with a fuel system, and it's great. We use Lethal stuff all the time. If you want to run the Lethal stuff, that's great. I recommend Lethal, but I am working with SPE on a different setup that is going to be a little unique and very much tailored exactly to the GT500 and how it runs the pumps and all that sort of stuff. And we're going to use the factory controllers and speed the pumps up and down and do some pretty cool stuff. I'm going to be putting that in my car this week. When will that kit be available turnkey from SPE? I'm not sure. A few weeks, maybe month. I'm not really sure. It really depends. I mean, you know how this stuff goes. It's mostly ready already. It's just a matter of like finalizing instructions, making sure everything's exactly right. So, the kit may go out to some other people that are, test people and beta people in the faster cars, and they're not going to get instructions and all that kind of stuff. But for a regular retail deal, I would say a month plus. Remington Carson, yes. Unfortunately, I don't know if you watch my YouTube channel normally, but it's really fallen off, and that's because I just don't have time. This takes a little bit of time. I have to decide ahead of time what I'm going to talk about a little bit, maybe get some videos ready so I'm not struggling to find them when they come up, but it's a lot quicker than trying to do the fully produced videos. So I'm going to do one of these a week at the least. I think I'm going to do one like this that's very scheduled with very specific topics every week for sure. And I'd like to hear, if you guys want to comment, I'd like to hear what you if any particular day or time of day is better. I would assume night is better for most people. But any particular day, I just picked today because I felt like doing it today. And I ran my car yesterday and I was excited about it. So that's pretty much it. But, we can kind of tweak this format some as we go. I'm not sure what you're asking for, American Power, on what system to tune the car. Mad Muscle, can I trust local shops to tune my new Whipple? That's a very good question. At some point, somebody trusted me as a local-only tuner, and, they gave me the chance, and it became a good tuner over time and got better. But by the same token, I guess it comes down to this. How many Whipples has your local guy installed? If he's done a lot or tuned a lot, then maybe go to him. It's like trying to pick out somebody to do your brain surgery. Do you want to go to a guy that's done 200 of them or 2 of them? I mean, that's a pretty simple answer. So we tune over 300 cars a month, every month, for at least the last couple of years. I've been tuning for 15 plus years. I have so much data, and when something goes wrong, I probably have gone through that before. Obviously not always on the newest platforms, but over time. Like for instance, here's a good example. A lot of people haven't even seen a GT500 in person yet. We've tuned over 50 of them. So the data that I have, and even if you're not good, touching 50 of them and just saying, all right, this worked on this one, this one, this one, this one, and it didn't work on that one. Maybe there's something wrong with that car, but it's a good file. I mean, not even doing it scientifically, you better be good if you're touching 50 of them. So, local versus us or any other remote tuner, you just have to, there's no 100% right answer, but chances are we've done more of them, and we've done done more of them successfully. So, you know, obviously I'd love you to have us tune it, but if you feel like your local guy can do it, you know, it's worth a shot. But I'm getting ready to redo a GT500 that a guy went local and, you know, he wasn't happy. But at least he gave the guy a shot, I guess. Weight on my GT500. I don't have a weight. I probably will weigh it this week. It should be like 3,900 pounds roughly, or no, probably a little bit less. It should be 40, 50-ish with me, and I'm like 180. Gen 4. Let's see. Mike Malloy. Yeah, Mike's actually, when I was talking about the trucks earlier, like Mike's a good example. We have, Mike's very fast because he goes to the track, but we do a lot of trucks at that same level, and they don't necessarily go to the track. He went like 1080s, I believe, in like a full size, you know, crew cab setup. Hey Jed, all right, A10 Whipple here. Let's talk. Let's switch topics because I don't want this to go too crazy long. I don't have a power thing for my camera, so hopefully the battery's good. Yeah, we're good. All right, so anyway, let's read your question, then we'll switch over to the A10 topic. 85, 14 PSI, stock converter, 1.5, 90. Awesome, Jed. Thanks for being tuned by us. That's 150 plus, man. That's 5-6 years ago. If we're going 150 with every car practically that we touch, nobody would believe us, but that's pretty much what's happening. All right, what else? Ken, question on the 2020. Oh, Garage Junkie. If you're asking me if we can retune your car, without buying another Engage, as long as it's an HP Tuners Engage, we can do it. So most likely it is. So you just need to buy the tune from us. All right. Anyway, A10 Whipple. Let's get to that. So I wanted to talk some about that. Probably the most recent one that you guys have seen posted by us is Nick's car here. I believe he had a Pro Charger before, and this is I believe one of his first outings with the new Whipple setup. 865 at 161. This is, I believe he has rods and pistons in this setup. I don't think it's too complicated. I don't know if Nick's on here or not, but thanks American Power. Appreciate it. This is not all the way turned up yet, and that's kind of why I'm leading up to the other car I want to talk about. I believe Nick's on a 325 pulley, 20% lower. I'd assume he's on E85. You know, this is a really good example of what you can do without a whole lot with a bolt-on kit. Now, another A10 Whipple that we've done, I'm not sure if he still has it. I haven't talked to him recently, but Tony down in Texas, he's been 880s with his stock motor car. There's obviously a few that have done that, a good handful of them. But beyond that, there's so much more left. So I believe Nick's probably going to step up pulleys here soon. Another car that you guys are familiar with would be is Lexi's white 2018. Hers is a pretty much a full weight setup with just wheels and tires. It's already been 890s, but that's a fully built setup with the Cobra Jet lid and all the good stuff, and which is, you know, what Nick has here. And you know, she's been 890s already, but that was really a long time ago. And there's been a multitude of little tiny issues with that car, but it's really coming around. We weren't able to put together the whole pass, but I'm hoping that her car will be in the same range, in the 865, 860, 850 range. And she's also currently on a 325 pulley. But you know, she'll definitely be going to a 275 pulley. That car actually has a direct port nitrous kit on it. That is one of the reasons the car's delayed, because it ejected the crank right out of the front of it when we tried to spray it. But we're going to not spray it for a little bit and try and make that fast. The other one that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Carlos Vera. You guys might recognize Carlos Vera's car. Here it is from, that's That's weird. Anyway, you can see there the car already went 857 at 163. This was at the Mod Nationals last year, which at the time, this was the A10 overall record. Carlos, before this car started out with a Roush, that comes from the dealer. It's not a Roush car, but Roush installed a blower, and he went 9. Let's see, I got it right here, actually. It's a little bit of a good comparison. So Carlos holds the record for the Roush blower, which is this, 997 at 134, fully turned up. That's kind of rough on that Roush, but, whatever. Let me close some of these windows. Then Carlos switched to the Edelbrock, and I believe he went a low 9 on the Edelbrock when it was stockish without much done to it. And then we built it up. This is a Kong Port Edelbrock, went 857 at 163, and that held the overall A10 supercharger record until I don't know exactly how long ago. Zach broke that with his Whipple car. I believe he's in the low 850s. So now, this is the new setup. All right, that's a bad mother. I'm not going to curse on this. But anyway, the car's gotten, let's take a look at the engine bay real quick. Rare Fab did a nice clean, let's see what I do there. There you go. Rare Fab did a really awesome job on it. Don't worry about the jump box up there in the upper left, but otherwise it's a beautiful setup. We ran the car on that dyno pull that you just saw with a 3.5 pulley and 20% lower, and I'm not going to tell you what it made, but Rob and I guessed what it was going to make before the pull, and we were almost 100 horsepower off. And we were off in the good direction. It made a lot more than we expected. Anyway, this car is going to go to the track very soon in hopes to resetting the A10 record, A10 supercharged record. With this pulley, in fact, maybe this week, and then we're going to step it up, pulleys, step it down pulleys, step up the boost, and we're hoping to be the first 7-second supercharged A10, and this is the 3-liter, and then after that, we're going to swap that right over to the 3.8-liter and see if we can go, deep into the 7s with an A10. So that's our goal with that car. All right. Yeah, piston rod, head studs, 325 pulley, pump 85. Yep, which is pretty close to what Lexi's running, I'd say, except I think she might have had her head supported. I can't remember. Jimmy says 2018 A10 Pro Charger P1X tuned by us. Goal is 8 to 850 on MS109. Yeah, the Hellcat pump should be enough for MS109. I haven't really used that pump. How are you running it? Just put, is it in the stock hat, I guess? Here's the issue with some of these budget kits, and this is not directly at the person you mentioned there, but let's just talk about budget fuel systems in general, because it's important to me, because we've had multiple issues with this, and I don't talk about it a lot. So I'm going to talk about it real quick before we move on. Some of these budget fuel systems are not putting a fuel filter in the system. So let me explain that. The Mustang GT fuel hat has a fuel filter built into the fuel hat, which is non-serviceable. So the fuel pump goes through the filter in the hat. A lot of people don't even know it's there. Get through the filter to the hat, and then once it gets out of the fuel tank, there's no filter after that. So the common thing to do is take GT350 or GT500 pumps and put them in a Coyote. But the problem is, on a GT350 and a GT500, those have external fuel filters, but these fuel systems are not adding that fuel filter. And I suppose the reason they're probably not adding that fuel filter is if you add that fuel filter to those pumps in that configuration, it's not going to support as much power as most people would want. So short story is, you know, at least make sure you're running a fuel filter. That's all I can say. I don't understand why you would put a fuel system on a car without a fuel filter. And I can tell you, I could probably put you in touch with 10 people that wish that they had a fuel filter on their car because their expensive ID injectors got screwed up. And then more recently on 2018s, not only does it screw up the port injectors, which are fairly easy to take out and clean and go, well, I made a mistake there, I'll just get these cleaned. Now you got to take the DI injectors out too because there's probably junk in those. So anyway, that's my opinion on fuel systems. Point is, if it has the word budget in it and it's fuel system, I don't like it. I don't care who's selling it. Like fuel, I mean, if you're going to be budget on like your wheels or like something insignificant. Your car, it will die if it's not getting proper fueling. That's, I mean, it couldn't be more important. Ron S has a 2020 Roush with a manual trans. Would it be worth putting it on E85? Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing. It's not any kind of dig against Roush. And you certainly will pick up power on E85. In fact, it's a huge upgrade to the Roush cars because the problem with those cars is obviously it uses the same rotor pack that's in my GT500 that's making insane power. The problem is the rest of the packaging is not the best, you know, and Roush took the path of designing. That's not really true. I was going to say designing around the packaging they were giving, and maybe they wanted to do it quickly because if you noticed, everybody switched to an upside-down blower design for 2018 because of the direct injection. Roush didn't do that. So what happens, the intercooler gets way smaller, so you just can't make very good power with those at all. But E85 is going to help because the problem is heat. So there's a good example. The 990 car that I showed, Carlos Ferra, that was on E85. Mike, we have had a lot. We actually stopped selling the DW pump only because we've had multiple failures to the point of it caused so many problems that we just can't take the chance anymore. Although we were selling it as part of our power package, we just have not had any good luck with. I'll say that. I'm not going to tell you the DW pump sucks because then all of a sudden I'm bad mouthing DW. But what I will tell you is that we at the shop and in remote, mail order situations, we've had multiple failures with that pump, and I just refuse to really use it anymore. So anyway, let's keep going. Oh, I want to talk about Godzilla. Anyway, the whole point of the A10 Whipple stuff, my point is we have a lot of really fast A10 Whipple cars coming. We actually just finished another one. I don't know if you're going to see much about it, unfortunately. It was a really badass setup. The customer doesn't want his numbers known, but he lives on one of the islands, and the car is getting shipped over there. So you may never hear about it. I don't know. Anyway, we've got a pretty solid recipe there. And, of course, the Hellion setups. We're doing a lot of those. Jess, who you've seen on our YouTube channel before, her car got finished a couple weeks ago, and she – of course, broke the MT82 like 10 minutes later, but she's getting a Ben Calimer set up and a couple other things. So we'll be seeing a lot on her car, and it's a stick car too, which is cool. Robert, yeah, the DW pumps, like most of the problems we've had, they've been failures like from the beginning. So if it's running okay, then you're okay probably. But the ones that have failed pretty miserably. I'll just say that. Okay, let's move on. Godzilla 7.3. I know a lot of people have been asking me about the truck, and we've just been a little bit delayed. We're waiting on materials. I've got the long tube headers that are going on it, but we're not putting those on until we're able to do the full cat back, and Will over at Rare Fab was waiting on some materials for that. And, after we do the exhaust, then the supercharger, I believe we're getting the first Whipple supercharger for a 7.3, not counting Brian Wolf, who has it on his race car, but that would not fit under the hood of a truck. So they had to redo some stuff to make it work on my truck, and hopefully we'll have that soon. The bigger news to me on the 7.3 is, people are going to buy trucks with 7.3. They're going to need tunes with 7.3. Maybe some of them will put superchargers. But the big news on this, it's not news yet, but I think it's going to be big news, is using this engine as a swap engine. Now, for those of you that haven't seen it, in fact, let's do that real quick, because I set this up just for that reason. So let's see if this works. Give me a second. All right, so we can get on YouTube real quick and look at it. Oops. All of Brian's, I don't know how to see, Evan Smith. I don't know what his channel name is. It's like Revin Evan, I think. There it is, Revin Evan. So Evan's been helping out Brian do some videos on his 7.3. I guess that was on just Facebook. It's not here. But if you go over to Evan's channel, if you're interested in this stuff and you haven't seen this, which you probably have if you're interested in it, you've got quite a few 7.3 videos. Brian does the full.
I'm releasing a plan to save lives.
Hold on.
In the months ahead.
Brian does a full run through of the engine, which is very educational. For those of you guys that don't know who Brian Wolf is, he's a very accomplished Ford engineer / executive. Let's keep that down. I just want to show you guys a couple highlights. That's the oil pump setup.
This cap side up environment, so we didn't need either.
This isn't the video I was looking for. Hold on. Here we go. So the cool thing is in these videos, here it is. They go through every component, the valve sizing, the rocker arms, the cam. And the real cool thing about all this is Brian Wolf, like I said, is a former Ford executive and engineer. He ran Ford. It was called Ford Racing back then. Ford, now Ford Performance. He worked overseas for Ford, and he also was head of, I don't know the official title, but basically the head of engine development for Ford America. So he had a huge hand in the development of the 7.3. And most of that stuff I'll let him tell you, because I'm hoping to, like I said, start doing interviews and podcasts, and Brian will definitely be one of those people. Luckily enough, Brian happens to live or have a house down here real close to me, and we've struck up a friendship, and we're working together on the 7.3, and that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So basically what Brian is doing is, let's see, I don't want to get on Facebook on this, but anyway, you can just go on Brian's channel or Facebook page. He does it all publicly, and he also posts in one of the 7.3 groups that I can't think of off the top of my head. But what he's doing is he's building a race version of this for his Ultra Street car. And for those of you guys that are not familiar of that outlaw level of heads-up racing, this is, top of the food chain, not top of the food chain, but way up there on, fast cars. In the 8th mile, Ultra Street cars are going 470s, 480s, at least 5.0s. So he's doing that. He's doing that with the Ford engine, with the stock heads. There's a lot done to him, of course. And he's doing it with the Whipple supercharger. I can guarantee you, if there's ever been a Whipple supercharger in Ultra Street, it wasn't very competitive. Not because Whipple's not good. It's just not typically used for that sort of thing. And so it's super cool that he's doing that. And what he's doing during this is Brian has an engine dyno at his house. He's helping develop camshafts that is going to help us. He's linked me up with a great company that we are working with them to come out with a swap solution. We're going to start with the 7.3, but we're going to do Coyote swap. And the really cool thing about it is it uses OEM level hardware, which for For those of you that don't know, like OEM electronics typically are going to be 10 times better than most aftermarket electronics. They're just built to a different level. You know, sometimes things are made overseas and different. Let's just say the OEM stuff is usually more reliable, and usually has more onboard stuff. You know, like for instance, a lot of standalones may need external coil drivers. This will have internal coil drivers, things like that, and it can also drive not only stock coils but smart coils. It has traction control. It has it all. It's going to be super badass. And the really cool thing about it is it can be mass air based, and if somebody really wants to use a mass air, they can. But most people are going to use the mat based setup, and it's going to come with a turnkey tune. I mean, you're going to be able to drop this in your car, hook up some power, and it's already tuned. Of course, we'll be able to do remote tuning in instances where a remote tune is needed, but it's going to be a really badass setup. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that soon. And to test that setup out, we're going to be putting a 7.3 engine in my old 2005 Mustang that's stored away under 5 inches of dirt. It's got nothing. It's just a shell. There's no K-member. There's no engine. There's no rear end. We're going to pull that out of storage and resurrect that beast. So really looking forward to that project, especially now that we have Brian in our corner. It's been really great getting to meet him, and I'm looking really forward to it. For those of you that didn't see, head over to his Facebook. He just made it. The dyno doesn't show 800, but he pulled up way early. You can tell by the power curve. It made close to 800 horsepower, naturally aspirated his race engine. They ran it on his engine dyno, and then obviously probably to get the tune close and break in the engine, and then they're going to put the Whipple on and really lay into it, I assume. So, all right, let's answer a couple more questions. We're not selling the DW pump anymore, Robert. You know, it works well in your car, but we've had too many failures, so I would not recommend that to that guy. I didn't see the question, but I see Mike is telling a guy he doesn't need 109 and meth, which I agree with. I'm not a big fan of meth injection in general. I've played with it. I know how to use it. It's useful in some instances, but just not usually very, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. 109, if you got 109, just run 109. Don't even mess with the other stuff. Hey, Sammy, TCam. For some reason, they blocked your comment. I had to click show. Are you like a troublemaker usually? Let's see. Jeremy, 93 with meth. I'm not a big fan of it to keep IATs low, to be honest with you. But if you want, I'm not going to stop you. Pedro Porto, your name sounds familiar. Yes, I guess we did your car. Okay, Pedro, that's a good question. He asked a question. I'll just read it. My name is Pedro. You guys tune my car. I have a problem with my GT500 clutch overheat stock, just Mickey Street SS. Okay. Most likely the problem is your speedometer. Unfortunately, we can't fix the speedometer through the tune, and the in-gauge isn't set up properly to calibrate for tire size, but those tires are larger than the factory tire, and the car doesn't know it's there. So it's probably going to keep doing that until you fix that. I forget if you're local to us, Pedro, but if you are, then you can come by the shop and I can fix it with a different tool. If not, I use Forescan. Forescan's a program that you can buy for like $50 for a lifetime membership. It's kind of a little bit difficult to use. We can help you through it. Maybe I'll do a video on changing tire size on GT500 until we can add it to the N-Gauge. It's not that difficult. It's $50 for the software, and then you got to buy it's less than $100, and it's good to have anyway if you really like messing with that stuff. You can change change all kinds of stuff on all different vehicles. So anyway, that's your problem most likely. I had that problem also, and then since I've changed my tire size, I haven't had that problem. And same thing with Lee. Lee Dennis just did his tire size, and he hasn't had any problems. American Power, 100 octane versus E85. I mean, if it's just standard gasoline at 100 octane, it's probably a pretty significant difference in power depending on the application. You know, like at 1,000 horsepower, I would guess it's worth a good 30, 40, 50 horsepower maybe. 92 Green GT. Ken, will the swap solution you're talking about going to be available for the Fox with the Coyote? Yeah, it's going to be, we're going to do it initially on the 7.3 because it's a little bit easier. Obviously you have a variable cam, but it's a single cam that, you know, you're not changing that much. Obviously with the Coyote, you've got TI VCT. You'll be able to use this system on a locked out Coyote right away. But VCT's handled. That's the great thing about this, the company that we're working with. They also work directly with Ford. When Ford dynos, I don't know exactly, I don't want to say anything inaccurate. At some of their facilities, at least, where they've been dynoing some of the 7.3 stuff, Ford uses this software on their engine dyno, and we're going to help that company kind of wrap it up into like a full package with the plug and play harness and everything. It's going to be real nice. So yes, you'll be able to, and then if you want to use VCT, it's going to be available for the Coyote also, or 7.3 or anything. It's going to, I mean, you know, we're starting with the 7.3, but you know, my intention is to make it compete with any other standalone out there, except it's going to come from a different angle because it's coming from, these guys aren't OEM, but they work with OEM. So like the software, it's a very engineering centered deal. It's not like, say, a Holly that's a little bit more user friendly. We may be able to massage it there. I kind of like it the way it is, but you know, we have to make it easy for customers to use too. But anyway, a lot of the times, you know, we don't expect you to have to tune them. They should be ready to rock. Jess, will octane booster help those of us on a BAP 93 setup? Yeah, I wouldn't run it. Some people try to run it all the time. Like, I just put a can of octane boost in with every tank of gas. That's a bad idea in my opinion. The stuff that's in octane boost isn't the best, especially it'll leave a lot of deposits on your spark plugs and all that. It'll ruin your plugs, but it certainly would be good for like, hey, I'm going out racing tonight. I'm going to throw a can of octane. I mean, I wouldn't do it unless we did a specific tune for the octane boost, but it's definitely good. Most cars will benefit from it. Hellhorse, what's up? Looks like, yeah, we're doing a GT500 down in Texas with Hellhorse Performance. We work with those guys a lot on all different stuff. Karan Dobbins, what do I need to get? 850 rural horsepower with a Roush supercharger, or is it better to upgrade the supercharger? What year car is it? If it's an 18 plus, yes, I mean, it depends on what your goal is. You're not going to really gain a ton on a Roush with changing. It does okay the way it comes, but that's about it. So if you have a Roush and you want to change and keep it supercharged, I mean, the Whipple's the way to go. No doubt about it. Whipple is almost always the answer. In general, you know, we support Whipple and Hellion are our two big power adders. And we probably do about 50 and 50 of those, which is great. Real from Fab Speed here in PA. You guys just did a tune on my 19 A10 GT PP1. It's enjoying it. Yeah, if it's NA, here's how our NA tuning works, okay? You don't have to send a data log. Now, it's probably not a bad idea, but you don't have to. Now, the main reason you have to send a data log is we're basically verifying that your car's put together right. I guarantee the tune's right, especially if it's NA. But a lot, we you know, a power adder car, we require logs because, you know, there's a lot more things that can go wrong. But on an NA vehicle, our tunes are so refined that they should be ready to rock. But if we don't charge extra to send in a log, it's certainly a good idea. James, typically, James Birch, do I do cam lockouts for turbo setups? The answer is sometimes. My 2011 car is locked out. You know, and that's been sevens with the 6R80, but the car that we were first in the sevens with a 6R80, that was a 2015 car, and that had stock cams actually at that time. So it just depends. Generally, I would prefer to keep VCT, especially if it's a 15 plus, because the VCT system is fairly reliable. 11 to 14, they don't seem as reliable, so locking them out might be a better choice. Sean Schaefer, 16 MT82 car with a Roush, long tube headers, E85 JLT 72. Is it better to switch to 69 or 5% overdrive lower? A 69 will hold fine. There's nothing wrong with doing lower pulleys, but like, that topic's come up with the GT500, and I'm working, I mentioned to SPE about doing an upper idler pulley so we can go to the lower, smaller supercharger pulleys without slipping, and everybody's like, well, why don't you just put a lower on? Well, your crank pulley it's more than just a pulley, okay? It's your harmonic balancer, and in general, people change them all the time and they have no problems. But I have had them fail, aftermarket ones. I've never had a stock one fail. So, and they can fail for a few reasons. A lot of them are user installation issues that anybody can make, especially if you're new to this. So, just go into a smaller upper pulley is a much safer bet. The worst problem you're going to have is belt slip. If you put a new crank pulley on your car, the worst problem you're going to have is messing up your engine if you didn't do it right. And I feel the same thing about oil pump gears too, to be honest with you. Okay, Paige, you're from New Hampshire. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Just get with us and we'll figure out a solution for your Speedo, but I really need to get it working on the Engage. Will W, yes, we have tuned a VMP Odin on our dyno actually. I think it did pretty good, about what I would expect. It wasn't anything out. I mean, it's, it's a 265 blower. It's going to make the same as like an Edelbrock pretty much. I mean, you could probably like split hairs and like stock Odin versus stock Edelbrock or ported and versus ported, but it's the same rotor pack. They're both fairly decently designed. It seems like I haven't really had my hands on an Odin, like looking deep into it, but it's probably good. It just, I think you're not hearing a lot about it because it's late to the game. Most people have already decided what blowers they're going with since the A10's been out for a couple years. The aborted genius. What are we doing? I keep forgetting I got to read these so you guys know what I'm talking about. I've been seeing a lot of PBD cars killing it on the street. What are you guys doing differently from the competition? I always see a white Hellion car just gapping people. Well, if you like that car, just wait, because guess what? That was a stock engine, but it's getting a build engine right now. What are we doing differently? I don't know. Maybe we're not doing... That's a hard question to answer. Maybe it's just the fast people happen to choose us. And we're good at what we do, don't get me wrong, but maybe they're winning because they're more seasoned racers. They know what they're doing, and they decided to pick us. I don't know how to answer that. I'm not even going to try. I fit a front feed Whipple on my GT500 2014. No, easily, but Billet Pro Shop, I know, was working on that. They had one of the fastest or the fastest stick GT500 for a long time, and I know they were working on a front feed blower on that car, and I'm not really sure whatever happened with it. They were working on bracketry and everything, so if you want a solid answer on that, I'd probably hit up Billet Pro Shop. They're up in Canada. Let's see. Sammy. Pro Charger whipping up on these Whipple boys. T56. Man, you're beating them with a T56 Pro Charger? I don't know, man. I need to see some video. Beating up on anything with a T56, no matter what the power adder is good compared, with what these cars can do. Jamie, stage 1 Whipple. What's the question? Are you asking what kind of power it can make? Whipple. The big thing on Whipple that there's a lot of misunderstanding with is power potential on 93. So let's talk about that real quick. Well, really, it's not just Whipple. It's more of a, I see it more in Whipple because we do so many Whipple, but it's really 18 plus versus 15 through 17 versus 11 through 14. For pump gas, the best engine without changing anything is going to be the 15 through 17, and that's due to the compression ratio. We always make more on a 15 through 17 on pump gas, no matter how you slice it. You know, the 18 has DI, which is going to help with the higher compression ratio, but not enough. It's not a direct offset. So, for instance, everything is really heavily based on weather, but I'm going to give you an example based on just, you know, if it was the same day. A 15 through 17 that might make 725, the 18 might make 690 or so, something like that. So pump gas gets tricky. You know, everybody thinks, oh, the newest car with the newest blower. Wait a second. My buddy made 743 years ago on pump gas, and I can't break 700. Well, that's just how it goes when you up the compression. And it's going to really depend on the quality of the 93. Obviously, really good 93 is going to make better than crappy 93. And you don't really know how good it is till your car knocks and the ringland flies off. That's bad. Bad 93. Robert, thank you. Robert just said that we do really well, and his 18 Hellion was tuned by somebody else, and he won't go anywhere else. You know, we hear that a lot, and it's not really, and I don't know who tunes your car, but this is a really tricky game, and that's why you don't see a ton of people competing in this space on a national level. I mean, you don't really hardly see, you know, there's a couple, 3, 4 companies that do it on a fairly large level in the Ford world. You don't even hardly see it much at this level in any other brands, I don't think. And I think that's just because Ford's so big. But even in such the big market that Ford is, you still have only a few players in this remote tuning game. And it's because it's very, 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 very difficult on multiple levels. And it's more than just tuning. There's no way I could do this without Rob Shoemaker, mostly, but also, no, that's not true. I mean, Rob on the Power Rider side and Trevor on the NA side, and now we have James and we have Kyle. And if I was the type of tuner that was couldn't get along with people and didn't want to hire anybody, either A, I would have to just turn people away constantly, or the whole entire business would have imploded on itself, because there's no way that one person can keep up with the volume and take care of old customers that need new help or continuing help with issues while new orders are coming in every day. So it's a really unique set of circumstances that make a company like this successful, because it's hard to find help. And if you find good help, it's hard to find trustworthy help, because I have 15 years plus into this, where a lot of information that I have was passed down to me by my mentor, Jerry, and it's very valuable information, and I would never sell that information to anybody, but nothing stops somebody from coming into my place and being a tuner and having me share that stuff and then go out and do it on their own. And that's always the worry with any kind of business centered around this type of information. But, you know, I got to the point where I had to do something, and that was fairly early on. And then, you know, Rob, luckily for me, is an old soul and like a real trustworthy dude. And I'm not really talking shit on any parts of the country, but he's a Northeasterner like I am. And I was brought up in a very old school, loyal type of loyalty to die kind of way. And Rob is similar, even though he's a lot younger than me. And so is, and Trevor's, you know, super Midwest guy, totally different than me and Rob, but he's so trustworthy. Another home run for me and Kyle and James. I've gotten lucky. Check back in with me in 5 years and make sure I'm still lucky. But I think those guys are doing great. So that's really what makes remote tuning work, is the team. You know, everything from the tuners I just mentioned, but that wouldn't matter if my wife wasn't doing all the hard work she does in the office, and Don and Austin on the phones. I mean, it's really I mean, we really have an insanely good team, and it's a lot. Hopefully they think so, but it's a real fun place to work too. We try and keep it fun. How much horsepower would a Stage 2 Gen 5 Whipple make on a 2019 F-150? Well, the Gen 5 blower on the F-150 is fairly a new thing, so that remains to be seen. Some people have put the Mustang Gen 5 on an F-150, but guess what? That's not the same blower. The F-150 one's actually maybe better. It's a taller hat, makes more power. So you didn't say which kind of fuel, Abdullah, but, you're really going to be octane limited on any newer car. On 93, probably to that 700-ish range. And then, as far as how much, if you want to build it, I'm sure 1,000 plus is there, 800 to 900, no problem on E85 on the stock motor. Whipple can't be touched when it comes to power, but driving experience, I love the I love Pro Chargers too, Sammy. I've never actually owned a centrifugal car. I really, really, really like crank drive race cars with Pro Chargers on them, or Vortex. I'm friendly with all the power adder companies, at least the ones that I'm not even going to say that. Anyway, what do I recommend on a 2014 GT500 VMP Gen 3R? Look, there's always the VMP versus Whipple, but come on. I mean, you can't really even come close to comparing a VMP Gen 3R to a Whipple 3.8. I mean, not even close. Not even close. In fact, I wouldn't even compare the newest Whipple 3.0 with the Raceport to the 265. Not even close. Not even close. We'll show you what that Whipple car I showed you earlier. I'm telling you. The nice thing about Carlos Ferra's car is I get to drive it. Thanks, Robert. Robert just said we had the best customer service. That's another good, real quick topic for those of you guys that have hung out here for a while. Thank you for hanging out. Customer service. Customer service requires the customer to somewhat use their head. You don't know how frustrated I get when I hear from somebody that goes, "Hey man, my buddy's been trying to get a hold of you." I'm like, well, he shouldn't really be trying to get a hold of me. I'm the owner of a business. He should be trying to get a hold of the business. So who is he contacting? Well, he sent you a couple messages. Well, that's his problem. If you're going to try to reach out to me directly, I love talking to people. I would talk to everybody as much as I possibly can, but I just can't possibly do that, for everybody. And I don't really play favorites. Messages come through my Facebook Messenger like like the Matrix movie. And if I see something I think is important or whatever, I click on it and I'll try to answer you. But if you really want to get a hold of us, I couldn't make it easier, guys. There's the phone number, 561-571-1173. There's our email address, support@pbdyno. You can message us on Facebook. Lots of companies will yell at you, "Don't message us on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Send email only." Nope. Send us Facebook Messenger, because that all gets put into the same queue, whether it's email, Facebook Messenger. We now support Instagram. All those things are ways to get a hold of us. You can, we have a customer group. If you're actually a customer of ours, make sure you get added to the PB Dyno customers page. I have a private group just for the GT500 guys to be able to share information and talk. We haven't really got that going yet, but I'm trying to. Things like that. So there's definitely some people that might say they've had bad customer service stuff, but that's usually when they're trying to just like bypass the system and come and hit us up directly. I wish it was that way, guys. I mean, there's definitely lots of people that I used to be able to do that with, and I just can't anymore. I haven't even talked to, I talk to my mom like once a week or once every 2 weeks. If I have an extra 5 minutes, I'm going to call my mom. Anyway, let's see. Where was I? James Birch, 15 Mustang GT with Gen 5 Whipple, 3.6 2.5 pulley. Can it be tuned as it sits with the stock fuel system and Whipple 39s? It shouldn't. 15 should not have 39s from Whipple. They didn't do 39s. They did 56s, which are 13, 14 GT. Some people, Ford actually calls them a 52. We call them 56s. It's out of the 13, 14 GT500. If you 39s, I would not do. I was wondering where that was. The fuel line thing, James. Yeah, he had his car on our dyno, and man, what a mess. The guy who put his car together had so many problems. You know, that's something we deal with a lot on the dyno. And whether you're taking it to us or another dyno facility, don't ever think all my car needs is a dyno tune if it doesn't run or any of that stuff. Chances are it's not put together right. So to show up and let us strap your car to the dyno and there's a bunch of issues that you think, oh, well, we're just going to figure it out as we tune it. That's not how it works. I do that, and I did that for James, but he drove like 3 or 4 hours to come tune, and he didn't want to spend the night, most likely, so we went way out of our way to get it to run, and it did make awesome power, so that's cool. Anyway, all right, guys, this has been going on a long time. I'm not really sure exactly how long it's been. So tell me here somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. So if you guys got any more questions, get them in now. And let's see. Oh, there it is. Hour and 17 minutes. Wow. That's a long time. Boss Man 12 ball. I mean, we did a 2.9 Whipple on a Boss that was amazing. So I would think a Gen 5 Whipple would only be better. I mean, for the most part, don't get me wrong. I consider Eric at ProCharger a friend. I consider Lance at Vortec a friend. I have a lot of friends in this industry, and we sell Vortec and we sell ProCharger, and they're great blowers, but Whipple's usually my choice. You know, that's changed a little bit with the 18 Plus Mustang and the A10 automatic. I think that helps bring the Centuries a little closer in overall performance. But I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I like Whipple, probably because really it kind of goes with most of the companies I prefer to deal with. I prefer Whipple because I know Dustin Whipple and I know his business sense and what motivates him, and it's making power and delivering product. And it's not like a corporate entity. I couldn't tell you who owns Vortec, probably because it's probably some sort of conglomerate or corporation. I couldn't tell you who owns ProCharger, although it may be a single owner. I don't know. Although I'm friends with Eric there, and at ProCharger I'm friends with Lance, but I don't know. I just like dealing with somebody who has some skin in the game, you know. And when a company has outgrown the original owners and it's owned by some corporation, a lot of the times you don't get the service or the connection, you know. And I'm not talking about customer service like end user. I'm talking service to me as a reseller of their product. You know, I have a direct line to Dustin Whipple if I need it, because we support their company and they support us. And that's the kind of relationships I like to have. Sammy, I don't know. Let me look over here real quick. I need to be in the support group more, but I think it's called, I can't find it. Oh, Palm Beach Dyno Customers. That's the customer group. There's that. And then GT500 guys, I have a public group called 2020 GT500 Tech and Troubleshooting. And then I also have a private group with only a very small amount of people in there, where we're going to share, you know, kind of team type secrets, nothing major. Let's see. All right. A couple more questions rolling in, and now I'm going to hit the road. Hey, Kyle Quigley from RI Automotive. Picking up his built motor tomorrow from Fast Forward Racing Engines. Can't wait to bring it to y'all and see what these 62, 66s can do. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kyle. Looking forward to seeing what your car does. Got a lot of really cool builds all wrapping up here real soon. We got to get... how far are you trying to push the car, Kyle? Like, what's your goals with it? I'd like to see Sal's get back to the track and get that 7. Car Culture loves the way I'm doing the step-by-step on the 2020 GT500. Thanks. Unfortunately, towards the end, you know, there's a lot of little things I did that we videotaped and stuff. I just didn't get the videos up, but I think it's stuff that's a little less important, honestly, to most people. Like the smaller, earlier mods are more important. The big builds are a little easier to get information on, and I can get you that information, but I didn't really do much about, you know, putting my new wheels on and all that. I just didn't have time. Sammy, VPX85 L. No. L, is that the leaded version? What's different between that and C85 then? I don't know. X85 to me, as far... there's a VP placed by us, and the salesman stopped by, and I've been becoming friends with him, and it looks like VP X85 would be a direct competitor to Ignite and 1 Ethanol R, and I'm going to do tests. I have all that in stock, and I'm going to do that on my car. I was trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to test it because, you know, making it fair and cleaning out the tank and all that each time is tough. So I'm putting the SPE fuel system on my car this week. I may put some quick disconnect fittings and run the car off an external fuel cell that I can completely clean out and, you know, make sure if we're doing a fuel test that it's exactly the right fuel and it doesn't have leftover this or that in it. L Horse Performance, Ignite 114 or Ethanol 1R. I use Ignite mostly, although I'm pretty friendly with the guys at Real Street Performance, and they're behind Ethanol 1. And the one big thing that might help you make a decision is Ignite has tooling in it, and Ethanol 1 does not. So tooling can be pretty bad for you, you know, if you breathe it in. So hopefully you're not huffing your gasoline anyway, but I guess you can make an argument that Ethanol 1's a little bit safer for you. That's why I'm testing it, because Real Street asked me to test it versus Ignite. They already know, you know, they've done their testing, but they just want some, you know, third-party tests. Real Street's distributing it in Florida, so I don't really sell fuel right now, so I'm considering selling it, the Ethanol 1. Bert, Whipple versus Turbo, which is better? It just depends on what you're talking about. As far as like sorry, I got distracted. Whipple versus Turbo. Stick or an auto? Are you a drag racer or roll racer? What are you doing with the car? At a certain point, you're never really going to, for max power, you're probably always going to wind up with turbo. Like, you know, 15, 18, 1900 horsepower, which almost nobody does, really. Everybody talks like they want to do it, and they build a car for that, but to try and use something like that on the street is really difficult on a rear-wheel drive car. So I like both. I mean, I have a twin turbo car and I have a supercharged car. They're just very different. So it just kind of depends on what you're going to do. Kyle, on the 62s, are they depends if they're Gen 1 or Gen 2. I had Gen 1 62 journal bearings on my car, and I made over 1,300 on my red car. I've switched to Zona rotors now, but the 62s are great. Garage Junkie, but Ken, we need to be pals. I honestly, I consider myself a very friendly person, and I can strike up a conversation with anybody pretty quickly when they come by the shop. The problem is I can't be a consistent friend to almost anybody. I've tried. Most people get mad at me because I usually go quiet I just get so busy. I just don't have time. So I'm a loner. Robert, Zona stuff is just next level. Anybody wants the best turbo out, one of the best turbos out there, especially the smaller stuff for twin cars. I love Zona Rotor. I love the company. They're American made. I love every feature about them. Their new exhaust setup, line setup, the exhaust wheels, can't go on enough. I would push them more, except I don't know for sure if they're direct fitment on most kits. I need somebody with each kit to come to the shop, and I'll sell them a set of Zonas at a special price, and we'll fit them onto their kit, and then that way we'll know if they'll fit. I don't want to ship a set of Zonas to a guy with a Hellion kit, and then all of a sudden he goes to bolt them on and he's screwed because he can't get them on. So if there's like any kind of tweaks to the kit needed, I want to know that. But that's the way to go. Car Culture Nation, would it be possible and worth it to port and smaller pulley a 2011 GT500 engine in a that blower? It depends on what you want to make. I'm a bit cynical. Everything's about big power nowadays. That blower is not great. The most you're going to get out of that blower is 600 to the wheels, but that's a lot of power. So if you're looking for 600 and you can get that blower cheap, it's not a bad idea. But if you can get your hands on a 13, 14 blower, that would be better for sure. Mike, power limits on the 2020 GT500? I don't want to find out, that's for sure, but somebody's got to. I've made 1,200 on or 1,100 on the dyno, and I've been beating the absolute hell out of it. Well, I haven't been, but Lee and Mark and a few other people have been beating up the same exact combo, like really bad. Lee's really rough on his stuff, and he hot laps it and runs it like crazy hot, and like it just hasn't missed a beat. So, I think safely 1,200 is in range. You're going to probably need a new clutch in the transmission before you break the engine, I think. Eric, with the Whipple, at what level horsepower is a crank support start to be recommended? I would definitely do it if you go 10 rib. Any 10 rib setup, while you're doing it, you might as well do the crank support. I don't really think you can. I don't really see a point in running a crank support with 6 rib. So pretty much when you go 10 rib, I'd almost make that part of it. But certainly, I would make that part of it, period, because that belt has a lot of grip, no matter how big the pulley is. Yeah, Robert, the Hellion setup, I think the Zonas would work. Like, the main reason I'm worried is, like, they're almost the same exact footprint as a Precision or Garrett or whatever, but I tried to put a set on my 2011 car, and only because of the kit that was on my car was designed with really tight clearances where the wastegate pipe came up, they wouldn't fit on my car. They fit, but the wastegate pipe wouldn't fit. We had to redo the wastegate pipe. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for everybody sticking around. Well, real quick, before I wrap up, we got a good amount of people on here. What is this time work for everybody? Time of the week, Mondays, 8 o'clock. Should I make it later to help the West Coast guys? I don't know. Please respond, make a comment, let me know what you guys think. $1,200 to the wheels on the 2020 GT500. The DCT, we just don't know. The clutch probably won't hold that. Yeah. All right. Mondays work for everybody. I'll also be doing, like I said, I want to do it on Facebook too. You're not supposed to dual stream, and so I might pick another night and do Facebook stuff, or maybe we'll do Facebook during the day at work or something like that. Yeah, we'll kind of we'll play with time. I mean, right now it's 9:30, so we've been live for an hour and a half, and that's probably as long as I want to go, unless we're just really killing it with with a good conversation. So I think the latest we would start is like 8:30 or 9, but we'll keep it at 8 for a while. Walter, which Walter? From Cincinnati. I know two. Is it Chuck Carter's buddy, Walter? I forget your last name, man. That's cool. If it is. There's also another Walter. I guess he wasn't from Cincinnati, though. He was from Dayton. He had a Dodge. Yeah. Are you still into cars, Walter? Man, it's been, I haven't spoken to you for I can't even imagine how long it's been. I've spoken to Chuck here and there, but man, I haven't probably seen you definitely since I moved to Florida. Probably longer. Sorry, wrestling with my mic. I'm also going to try and like get a better set here. I did hang up that stuff over there because you can see the kitchen and all that, but I got to hang up some stuff on the wall and put some bookshelves up. Ah, shit, dude. I didn't know we tuned your car. That's awesome. That's kind of sad. I hate that we're tuning your car and I don't know that and we're buddies. It's cool. I'm glad the business is successful, but I kind of wish I knew about that. Doug, message us on Facebook at the business page and let us know which turbo you're looking at, or if you need a recommendation, what kit you have and what power and all that. And I'm only doing the discount for the first person with each kit. So if you have a Hellion kit and you test them for me, you're going to get them cheap. But then after that, normal pricing. Same thing with any of the popular kits. Aldo Weld, LPF, all those. If you have that kit, I'll sell you a set of these on the cheaper side. But if we do it in person, I'd rather do it in person because then we can kind of work out if there is changes needed and what changes are needed. But if you want to do it, if you want us to ship you the turbos, I'll do it, but you're not going to return them. Like if you go to put them on and they don't fit, then you got to make them fit or sell them. Hey, boss man, I already did. That's what my car is. My 2011 has 72 millimeter Zona turbos. You can't use the wastegate pipe as it is designed because it's too close to the turbo. But other than that, you're good to go. And those are on my car, and that is how the turbos I use to go 7s. Hey, Revit Racing, that's awesome. Thanks for using us. Doug, yeah, if you want to set up something to come down from Connecticut, we can do that. Obviously, what we'll have to do is, depending on how long you're going to stay, get turbos ordered up and then schedule it. You have to schedule where you be there for a few days at least, because if some minor fabrication work needs to get done, you got to leave yourself some room. But if you're really interested, just let us know, and I'm very interested in doing that. No fuel system for you to test, Jess. You're not allowed to drive. You're on suspension, braking your car too fast. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna roll out. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.